Welcome to the second e-learning video on convertible notes. In the first video we mentioned different approaches to decide on the effective pre-money on which the CLA converts. In this video we will go through an example of each of the three methods. Let's start with the easiest, the pre-money method, which is also the most founder-friendly. Deep tech startup example is founded with 100,000 shares. After a few months, example makes a deal with investor Oldcap Invest. A 1 million CLA with 8% compounded interest and a 20% discount. Again, 1 year later, investor Newcap Invest steps in with a 2 million euro investment at a pre-money of 5 million. The share price is calculated as pre-money divided by the total outstanding shares, or 5 million divided by 100,000 shares, which makes 50 euros. If we forget the CLA for now, the cap table change would look like this. Here you can see the aim of the Newcap Invest is to have 29% equity in the company in return for that 2 million euros investment. Okay. Taking into account the CLA, which after a year converts the 1 million euros plus 8% interest, the share price for this 50 euros minus the 20% discount, which makes 40 euros, at which the CLA converts. Adding this to the cap table makes this. And here things immediately get interesting. The conversion is done as was initially agreed, at the pre-money price with a 20% discount. However, as you can see, this has a serious impact on the equity stake of Newcap Invest, which goes down from their expected 29% to 24%. You can expect that Newcap Invest will not agree to this. This pre-money method is the most founder-friendly approach for converting a CLA. However, as mentioned, most investors will not agree to use this methodology. It's probable that in our example, the investor Newcap Invest would address this by stating that the pre-money valuation will be set on a fully diluted basis. This means first the CLA conversion takes place, then the pre-money is set to the agreed price, then the equity investment takes place. But when the conversion takes place, the pre-money automatically increases. After all, a conversion is effectively an equity investment, and the pre- and post-money cannot be the same when an equity investment takes place. So in order to end up with a post-money valuation equal to the price agreed upon with Newcap Invest, the conversion has to take place at a lower pre-money. However, the CLA explicitly mentions that the conversion will be based on the same pre-money as the new equity investment. These two premises do not inherently align. So how does this conversion and subsequent investment actually transpire? Which brings us to the second method, the fully diluted method, more formally called the percentage ownership method. In this case, the share percentage Newcap Invest wants to end up with is fixed. In our example, this was 29%. So as I said, the usual statement is the investment takes place at the pre-money on a fully diluted basis. What the investor is actually saying is that the investment does not take place against the agreed upon pre-money, but against an effective pre-money. The effective pre-money takes into account the fully diluted basis on which the investor wants to invest, which is obviously lower than the agreed upon pre-money. And to keep things clear, we will from here on talk about the agreed pre-money and the effective pre-money. Here the agreed pre-money is the valuation of your company before investment and conversion. The effective pre-money is the pre-money price which is used to calculate the share price at which both the CLA converts and the investment takes place. So what is this effective pre-money? Here's the formula. Here CLA is the principal amount including compounded interest. In comparison, the pre-money method looks like this. And with this effective pre-money, we can calculate the actual share price at which the investment and conversion take place, which looks like this. If we put the numbers in the formula, we get 1.08 million divided by 80%, which equals an effective pre-money of 3.7 million. This divided by the 100,000 outstanding shares ends up with a pre-money share price of 37 euros. Applying this to our example cap table, we end up with this. In this cap table, we've introduced the effective pre-money, which, as you can see, is about 1.4 million lower than the agreed pre-money, lowering the effective share price from 50 to 37 euros. Now let's do a quick sanity check. NewCap Invest was aiming for a 29% in return for their 2 million investment. Check. The conversion takes place at a discounted share price. Check. As you might have noticed, this latter conversion method goes fully at the expense of the founders' shares, who had 60% with the pre-money method and now 52% with the percentage ownership method. Now, one method is strongly in favor of the founders, the other method for the investors. Hence, there is a third method developed where all parties take a bit of the pain. This is the euros invested method. The method is roughly the same as the fully diluted method, with one difference. Effective pre-money is calculated with the percentage ownership method, but without the discount. This results in a more balanced, effective pre-money. I'll explain the narrative behind this method in a moment. Let's have a look at the formula. With this method, the percentage ownership method changes from this to this, which results in this cap table. To sum this video up, we show the three methods side by side, highlighting the differences. This would be a good moment to pause the video because I'm moving to the final part of this e-learning, my observations. So, the question remains which method to use and when. Here are my observations. The pre-money method, which favors the founders the most, makes sense if you truly found a pre-money valuation given the current condition of the company, including the loans or CLAs. It can also be used if negotiations on the pre-money get stuck and you're looking for an alternative method to move forward. Overall, though, it's not an unfair perspective from the investors to say when a CLA converts into equity, that money is virtually withdrawn from the company before investment, so it can be added later as part of the total investment. And if you withdraw money from the company, then the pre-money valuation should be lowered accordingly. The fully diluted or percentage ownership method favors the new investor the most. It is the method we often see in term sheets drafted by investors, which is not surprising. And although investors do have a point concerning the withdrawal of the loan from the company before investment, you can put your doubts whether that is also should apply to the discount. Which brings us back to the third method, the euros invested. This is overall seen as the most fair method to calculate the effective pre-money. And the narrative makes sense. True. Money is withdrawn from the company and thus the effective pre-money should be adjusted accordingly. However, the fact that moneylenders are willing to convert their loan into equity inherently increases the value of the company. First, the debt the company previously had is gone. Second, the interest rate on the CLA is gone. Third, if the company defaults, the creditors no longer have precedence over the shareholders. And this value increase should have a positive effect on the pre-money. Also, keep in mind that the alternative would be that the lenders do not convert and that same discount would not affect the founders as it would not be applied. Hence, it's fair to argue that because the CLA converts, the company value inherently increases, and therefore the discount should be left out of the effective pre-money calculation. This relatively small change does not affect the new investors too much, but it does convey the right message. The founders did good, and we see value in the conversion. And that concludes this e-learning on convertible notes. I hope that you learned from this talk, enjoyed this tech transfer video. My name is Rolf Segers. See you in the next one.